Alright, I think that's on the physics part. Let's try bring it back to the investment, right? So actually, based on what you are seeing market, right? You know, like just last week, there's all this talk about like hiking interest rate again, and the market has a huge drop, right? So what was your take? What's your outlook when it comes to market and your option strategy?
Okay, so I'll just be clear. It's not 3 sell put. It's 2 sell put and 1 sell call.
Okay.
Okay, and I just be honest and tell you all the truth because I have an intern in MENTEE, right?
Yeah.
So I was teaching him about options. Then he opened a position. So I asked him to close it, and he didn't close it. So after there was losses,
yeah.
Then I feel bad. So I was like, okay lah, because my portfolio size is big, like if I open and close a contract, it's easy to cover its loss.
Yeah.
So I go and sell call on my Tesla stocks. Yeah. So my shares get caught away. So after that, but it's okay because I feel that now I have the time to recover back. So it's not that big of a deal. So when I sell call, my share get caught away, I get back cash. So I got more cash to sell put. So yeah, I can sell. Usually I sell 1 put option, but now it's like I get a cash back.
Yep.
So I sell another put. So I have 2 put option. And 1 put option is 830, 1 is 780, and the other, so 2 put option at this pricing, and 1 sell call at this pricing. So the sell call is more like half covered call because I still have some shares left. Yeah. So and then I'm thinking like if Tesla stock price go down, let's say if it goes down, I will take full profit from selling call.
Yep.
If it goes up, I will take 2 profit from selling put. Yep. And if trades in the range, right, then I trades in the range between 830 and 870, I will take full profit from all 3 positions. So that's how I think about things. Yeah.
When we talk about options, it's always a short-term kind of outlook, right? Yeah. So what was your outlook like? Do you think that the market will go up or down or sideways?
This one we talked about before, like how I always reason logically, and we talk about like really what is the fundamental truth to Tesla's revenue is that Tesla revenue derived from car and cars only.
Yep.
Like mostly cars. The energy segment is very little. All the TAS, transport as a service, is still very little. Mostly cars. So in manufacturing, we talk about cars is a fixed cost business. Yep. So fundamentally, like okay, I'll ask myself, can Tesla produce a lot more cars going forward? Because every additional unit of revenue generated, expenses will not follow the same, and hence profit margin will widen or decrease based on the amount of cars they produce.
Yes.
So from that reasoning and understanding if the cost of raw material will go up and go down, and I look at Elon Musk, his recent interview with another podcast, and he was saying that he feels that like he's the one closest to the supply chain, like all the raw materials, all this, he understands all this. So he's saying that like things are cooling down and he foresees a prolonged mild recession. So if a prolonged mild recession, then there is not so much need to destroy demand through rising interest rates. Yeah, so yes, QT, all this is dangerous, but because I have the cash to sell put and I will get back the shares at my original price anyways. So that's why I did what I did, but yeah.
What you just described is like a longer term outlook. You are totally bullish, right? I think that's long term.
Yes.
But let's say over the short term, say we have some macro fears and then talk about inflation, talk about recessions, right? And let's say the share price on a short term basis, it dropped a lot. What will you do with your options? Basically, you will take ownership of the shares, right? Okay. And what's your plan moving forward if that happens?
Okay. So I am extremely bullish on the company, but I'm very bearish on the short term.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about, I cannot say what I'm going to do, but there's a general plan. It's, if things go super underpriced, I'm building up cash flow I want to buy leaps, and it's about controlling the usage of capital.
Yep.
And that time I think one of our Tesla community guy, he's I think DXW or something. Yeah. He schooled me on something like the how to be efficient with the use of capital. Like it's about understanding Vega instead of the Theta DK.
Yep.
So I think I take note of that. So I'm like, okay, I plan to control my capital well, as in like control don't waste dead capital on like leaps. So like the leverage ratio must be correct, and then like calculate. It's quite, I mean, it's all this is in theory. Then you have to put into practice, So the general plan is like if Tesla crash to a point that I feel is super undervalued, I will buy dips. If not, I will feel that like, okay, this recession has time, and so long as I'm not leveraging, right? Then selling put, selling call doesn't really matter that much because I can play with the sideways movement. Yes, something like that. So long as you don't leverage, then I think you'll be fine. Because now it's like I have cash, I have to go back into the market and sell put, sell, to get back my shares. I might do long-term sell put. So let's say if I have a lot of cash on hand, instead of doing a $800, $900 put, right, I can do a $1,500. I mean, wait, I'm a pre-split. Wait, post-split. Let's say $300 now, right?
Yes.
$300 post-split, right? I can do a $500 sell put long term. Then you can do not just one contract but two contracts. Even though delta is like 0.8, 0.9, but but you get more exposure to like the same amount of cash, get more exposure. Like, instead of just outright owning 100 shares, I got exposure to 200 shares. Get more exposure with the same amount of capital. So that's what I may do, selling put on a long-term basis, but with capturing the upside also.
But this one you will only do when, let's say, there's real fear in the market and then the price has dropped significantly. That's when you do it, right? And what kind of price level that you would think that this is the level?
I think 180 to 220 post-split. I think that is a good price for me to start doing all that. The dilemma is macro is shitty, but Tesla is growing very fast. I am net bearish because of sentiments, Company is doing well and then things are going well, and then people are willing to overpay for things, likely to overpay for things. The probability of things, they are likely to overpay. But let's say things are bearish and the company is performing well, but they are still affected by macro. Let's say supply chain problem, development, recession, then you need to cut, then you slow down progress of things. Then plus the sentiments is bearish. Then the probability of things being underpriced is higher than things being overpriced. So my option strategy is dealing with that.
Do you think that, let's say, over 1 year period, would there be a recession that is really hard enough such that the demand for Tesla cars also affected? Meaning that even though they are able to produce, let's say, like 2 million cars, but they're not able to sell it.
Exactly, that's the point I'm talking about. The company is doing well, but the macro situation is shitty, and all these things will affect. Recession, you slow down hiring, means you slow down FSD progression. There is lesser money circulating, there will be lesser demand, all this kind of thing. But then it's like, then you have to understand, try to predict the impact of how big is it, how small is it. That's why I'm more towards the bearish side. And that's why my option strategy is revolving towards more bearish and trying to farm time decay. And now, you ask me about what news development, all this, right? I really to the point that I think all this not so important. It's about cash flow. So I'm focusing on building up cash flow to buy the dips.
Okay, I think that's all for today's interview. Thank you so much for coming. So hope that we will do this more often in the future.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much.
Creeping up from the heathens, got will, got fight, got pride, got reason if they want to.